C5 Corvette is not doing well.
Oh, good.
My C5 Corvette has been relatively problem-free, aside from the harmonic balancer going out on it.
Oh boy, overheat.
Okay, somebody was here. Didn't time the bulb all the way.
I've always been able to just hop right in it, start it up, and drive it anywhere. Hence, why it hasn't been in any videos recently. I've just been out enjoying the car with friends. It was great. It was. Until one sunny afternoon, I climbed inside to take it to visit a, let's call it a friend, about an hour away.
Oh yeah.
But something was off. Something didn't feel right. But, like the idiot I am, I tried to take it anyways. And 30 seconds in, I realized that might have been a mistake. The car wasn't running right at all. Almost undrivable. And then, the check engine light started flashing. So I canceled my plans, reluctantly, to try to figure out what was wrong with my child. I scanned the codes with my cheap little scan tool, linked down below to the scanner I'm using, and got a plethora of faults. Manufacturer control, O2 sensor bank 1 sensor 2 no activity, O2 sensor bank 2 sensor 2 no activity, and P0300 multiple misfires detected.
Now, some of those codes, mainly the O2 sensor ones, are because of the headers. And also, potentially the fact that the catalytic converters may not be in the car anymore. I still haven't tuned the car since putting in the headers and since the event that may have removed the catalytic converters, if they really aren't still in the car. Maybe someone stole them.
But the misfire, that's new, and that's keeping me from driving the car. Misfires can be caused by a multitude of things. Sometimes it's simple stuff like spark plugs, plug wires, or coil packs. But other times, as I recently learned with a Jeep I bought, misfires can also be caused by more serious issues, like bad fuel injectors, or even low compression on a cylinder. But before I start blindly swapping parts and dumping money, Steve came over with his Snap-on scan tool, scanned the codes once again, and gave me some input on what to do with the car. His advice? Start with the simple stuff.
Spark plugs. So that's what we're going to do today. But first, I want to take you guys on a short little drive, just go around the block with it, so you can kind of see and hear, not really feel, but see and hear, hopefully, what it's doing and how different it is. So we're just going to go for a little drive. Hopefully we make it back.
It just sounds more lopey than usual. Just not good. And the motor's shaking pretty bad. I really hope it's just a misfire, but this seems worse than that.
Kind of sounds like I have an exhaust leak down here too. Little ticky sound. It's from like back here, not up by the motor. Maybe one of my header clamps came off. Yeah, you can just tell it's not running normally. It's like vibrating in here. It almost sounds like it's got a pretty big cam in it, which would be pretty cool if I actually put a cam in it. And it kind of smells almost gassy in here. Not my kind of gassy, like gasoline gassy. Yeah, you can pretty much feel the whole drivetrain shaking. It does not feel good to drive.
It almost felt like it had gotten even worse.
Nah, it is running really, really bad.
And after barely a minute of driving,
I'm gonna turn around. This does not feel good for it. That is not normal.
with the car luckily making it back to the garage, it was time to get to work and see if the vet could be mended, or was it going to be a more serious issue? First, we pop the hood and pull off the driver and passenger side engine covers, and then we can start on the spark plugs. We pull the plug wires off the plug and the ignition coil, so we have room to get the socket down in there to thread out the plug. There's already pretty limited space down there, so taking the plug wire out completely gives us a tiny bit more room to work. And a minute later, cylinder number 1 plug is out. And just how bad does it look?
Quite a bit of oil on that.
Oil on the plugs can mean a few different things. It's usually caused by oil making its way past the cylinder rings or valve guides, and if enough oil gets on the plugs, it can foul them.
Quite a bit of oil on that.
But the oil issue, that's a problem we'll figure out later. I'll put the plugs in the order I took them out on a numbered piece of cardboard so I can show my dad and Steve later. Next, out comes the cylinder 3 plug, and it wasn't really in any better shape than number 1 was.
This one's also pretty oily, and there's not much of an electrode left, not compared to the new ones.
The new plugs that are going in are AC Delco GM OEM Iridium plugs, and I'll include a link to them down in the description below so you can include them in your next vet tune-up. Just look at the difference between the old plug and the new one. The new Delco plug goes in the cylinder 3 spot, and out comes number 5.
Number 5, still a little oil, and still not really much of an electrode.
Cylinder 5 gets its new Delco plug. Then I cut the crap out of my hands.
Time for cylinder number 7. That's the absolute worst one, or so I've heard and read. I think I got it. That was not that bad. Or am I that good? Kind of oily. Not much of an electrode either.
No wonder this thing was running so bad. We put the last new plug in on the driver's side, and now we can reconnect all the plug wires. Normally, this would be a good time to just install new plug wires too while you're in there. But I just put in these GM Performance plug wires only 15,000 miles or so ago, so those are going back on. Unless the vet is still misfiring really bad.
All right, driver's side is complete. This side's done. Time for the passenger side.
It's the same process for the plugs on the passenger side. Take the plug wire off, unthread the old plug, thread in the new one, and reconnect the plug wires. This side's a little bit easier, but had a little added challenge to it.
I'm soaked, not because this is a challenging job. It is hot out, but it decided to randomly downpour on me. But the good news is, we're on the last one.
I was starting to get that nervous, excited feeling as we neared the end of this potential fix. I just want the vet to run normal again.
Here she is. Very burnt and very oily.
Such a difference between the old plugs that were in the vet and the new AC Delco plugs that are going in. If this doesn't sort out our vet's rough running condition, I'm not really sure what will. These plugs are toast. With the last new plug in, I snug them all down to make sure they're tight. And then the satisfying snap tells me our last plug wire's back on. And now the passenger side is done. But now it's time to find out if this fixed our issue, or if we're going to be doing some serious motor work. All right, the new plugs are in, the wires are back on. Now is truly a moment of truth, because if the car still doesn't run right, I already have a gut feeling that it's a little bit more than this. I'm truly hoping and praying that it's not, and that these plugs fixed it. So let's start it up. We'll know right away if it's still not running right, but we'll start it up, take it around the block, and see what's what.
I truly have like a feeling down in my gut, like not good. I'm very nervous about this. All kidding aside, this is one that I really, let's just start it up and see. Oh God. Come on, baby.
Lo and behold, it sounded actually pretty normal, but we wouldn't know for sure till we take it for a drive.
Yep, all this was on before. Well, I'm gonna be honest, it feels a lot smoother than it did, and it sounds better too. Let's take it around the block and see how it does. Oh boy.
Let's hope this $100 and 30-minute repair fixed the vet. Ugh. Maybe I'll be installing a front end lift next. But away we go. How's she gonna drive? It's feeling like a completely different car.
This thing feels so much more responsive than it did. So much peppier. I think we fixed it. Let's get those valves open for a little more fun on this straightaway. Hot damn! So much better. So much better. Oh. God, am I happy and relieved. Wow. That is a genuine sigh of relief.
It seemed as though we were in the all clear. I cleared the codes with my scan tool, put many careful miles on the car over the next few days, until another issue arrived.
All right, so we got some good news and some bad news about the C5. What do you guys want? Bad news first, probably? The bad news is it won't turn on. The good news is when it does turn on, it's running great. So right after we fix this issue, now it just doesn't want to run.
Now, I put a battery in this thing not very long ago. And it wasn't a cheap battery either. It's just a... You can actually hear something making some sort of weird electrical noise in there. But that's the battery I went with, and it's not very old. Let's see the date on this thing. I don't know.
I have a feeling that it's not the battery and that it's actually the alternator, because I can charge the battery up, I can drive somewhere. The battery says that it's charging, it's up around 14 volts. Actually, the other day it said high voltage on the screen readout. And then I got to my destination, shut the car off, and it wouldn't turn on again. It was already dead. Which would I rather it be? Probably the battery. Which do I think it is? The alternator.
One's a really easy fix and not much money, aka none if it's under warranty, but the other, still not very difficult to change, but a bit more costly. This calls for an expert's opinion.
And which do you think it is, Mr. Benjamin Button? Huh? Which one do you think it is?
Unfortunately, Bentley was as clueless as I at this point. But before dumping $200 on an alternator, how do we figure out if that's actually the issue? How do we tell if it's the battery instead? Luckily, there's some tests we can do. But unluckily, the car has to be running for them. And thanks to a past sponsor, Auxito, with their jump starter, this will only take a second.
Big shout out to them. I'll include a link to this thing down in the description below. This thing has jumped so many of my vehicles around here. It is a priceless tool to have around the garage, especially if you have as many project vehicles as me. I'll call them project vehicles to be nice. Now I'm gonna perform a few tests as to see if it could be the alternator or if it could be the battery. But first, I need this to turn on.
But as I went to get in the car, it began making more alien-like electrical noises. Really quite strange.
What the hell is that? That doesn't sound good, but let's fire her up. Oh yeah.
This thing is seriously messed up. I feel like it's haunted.
Yep. She is freaking dead as a doornail. Nothing. 8 volts. Sweet.
Time for the jumper, if it's even got any juice left.
All right, now this thing probably doesn't have a whole lot of charge in it because I've used it like 4 times this weekend alone. 66%, I think that's enough. That should be enough to start this thing. We'll see.
So I plugged in the jump pack to the cables, hooked up the positive and negative cables to the battery, and prayed.
Let's give it a shot. That light's a lot brighter now. Come on, baby, you can do it. That is freaking incredible. That is what I'm freaking talking about. That is power right there. That is powerful, a powerful machine. All right, yep, clear that one, yep, clear that one. All right, so we're charging real good. We're at 14.1 volts. That's what it's been floating around at for the past few days since it's been having this issue.
With the Vette running, it's time to run our first round of tests. This is an electrical problem, which means finding our handy-dandy multimeter and setting it to 20 volts, because this is a 12-volt system. With the motor running, with all accessories off, I'll touch the positive probe to the positive terminal on the battery and the negative probe to the negative terminal and see the reading we get. Looks like around 14.4. Yes, the Vette's DIC does read battery voltage, but in a car that's already having all sorts of electrical issues, who knows if we could trust that reading? But in this case, it was actually close. Next, we'll climb inside and put on some stuff that's going to suck down some power, like the AC fan at full blast and the headlights. Then we'll do the same as before, negative prong to the negative terminal and vice versa, and check the reading. Looks like high 13s, low 14s. Here's what we're looking for here. Your battery sends power to the starter motor to start the car. Once the engine's running, the alternator supplies power to the electrical accessories and ignition, and also charges the battery. With the motor running, the voltage should stay in the mid-13 to mid-14 range. Usually, if it drops below mid-13s, you've obviously got an issue. Weak battery or failing alternator. A battery by itself, fully charged, should have a resting voltage of 12.6 volts. Any less than that means it's usually toast, which is looking like my case, and which I quickly found out when I went to start the car back up again.
I just shut this thing off. Come on. What do we have for volts now? Oh, wow.
This thing is tapped, and I needed direction. So I called the most round-headed mechanic I know, who I also got the battery from, to see what he thought.
Please stop calling me Pinocchio. My nose is not that big. Yes, 14.4 volts. All right. He says to take the battery out and bring it to him.
So I pulled the battery, and the next morning, loaded it up in the F350, and brought it to Northeast Auto Imports.
Good to work.
Welcome back, Tyler.
Look at the shape of your head. How does it come out like that?
Every time he eats a munchkin, it rounds out more.
And as Tyler diddled around more, I spent more time visiting with the other, more important employees. And when he was finally done inhaling everyone else's munchkins, he requested my battery, so I could finally find out the next plan of action for the Vette.
You got there. Isn't that a cute little thing?
We put it on the tester, while being children about it.
What's the nipple thing? Do you have to videotape everything?
Yep.
It's not like people watch it though.
What a clock.
Bad. Replace.
It was confirmed. A dead cell in the battery. Meaning, this one's a goner. And gone so was everyone's focus on work this morning. That's my fault.
Oh, I think.
Hold on. Do that again.
Tyler and I gave our sincere and heartfelt farewells,
You suck. You're the worst. Get out of here.
and I got my new battery for the car.
Brandy new.
And would you look at that? Remember what I said the resting voltage should be? I put in the new battery, tightened down the hold down clamp, and connected the terminals.
New battery's in. It's nice and tight. I double checked that that's tight because I have had a battery come loose on me before and cause some weird electrical issues. Not something you want happening. So now it's time to hop in and see if it'll turn on. I almost said and turn it on and see if it'll turn on. It must, right? I hope. Moment of truth for the second time in this video. Showing good power up there, even though it's still falling. It's holding steady there. Do AC off. Open up the valves so we sound cool. Let's hear it. Oh, good.
Finally, it starts on its own once again.
You know, it's funny how the traction and stability lights that were coming on quite a bit, quite often, just went out. Voltage can cause some strange issues with cars, I'm telling you. Very odd things that you wouldn't guess would happen can all happen because of a bad battery. All right, let's see. We're at 14.3 volts. It's right at what we're supposed to be. And the car feels great. It feels great. Now to double check, I'm gonna put on the headlights, put on the AC at full blast, rear defroster. Only dropped to 13.8, 13.9, that's good. What more can we ask for? The Vette's running smooth, it idles nice and smooth, it runs great, and now we can actually turn it on. And I don't have to keep my jump starter in the back in case it dies somewhere. And another plus, the check engine light hasn't come back on yet. Now it's just a free and clear gauge cluster with no warning lights, besides obviously the fact that I'm not buckled up and the e-brake's on. Though I am gonna get the Vette tuned soon so that they can tune out the fact that there's no catalytic converters and change what they have to with the O2 sensors so that it doesn't trigger the check engine light anymore. But more importantly, we can get it tuned so that they can adjust the air fuel mixture and all that, because now we have long tube headers and a catless X pipe. So hopefully they can squeeze a few more horsepowers out of this thing, and we can get some gains from the mods that I did like 2 years ago. But you guys will have to wait for that one. It'll be coming soon. I'll see you in the next video. Happy motoring.